Thank you for tuning in to the Sports Peninsula podcast. Coming up, we're continuing our 2026 NFL Draft prospect coverage with a focus on the cornerbacks. This group is one of the deepest in this season's draft class, and this is good for teams like the Detroit Lions, who are certainly in need of adding perhaps yet another young cornerback to the room. We'll look at the top 20 and rank them next. Now, here is your Sports Peninsula team.
Welcome, everybody, to the Sports Peninsula podcast. My name is Dave Kaczynski, Drew, joined by Coach Andy Steele. We're talking NFL draft class prospects for the 2026 draft. We're focusing on the cornerbacks in this episode. And, Coach, as I mentioned in the intro, boy, as Lions fans, we certainly wouldn't want to be talking about this position group, and yet again, we are.
We are talking about this position group. Not necessarily about lining up a cornerback one and getting our long-term starter foundational piece lined up. That's not, I don't think, where we aren't looking there. We have some pieces in place that are here. Excuse me. Terrion Arnold, for better or for worse, is one of our starting cornerbacks. That may not be the case anymore. We'll see, and it may have less to do with his potential involvement in some things away from the football field and from Allen Park and from Detroit and from Michigan, for that matter, that could really, really play a part in that. He may lose his position based off of competition. We have Roger McCready now. We have Ennis Rakestraw, who is back. Finally, we shall see what we yields with that. Christian Izine has been brought in, and he can play safety or corner. DJ Reed still a Detroit Lion, Drew?
He's locked in.
I thought. So, we all said at corner, no. I don't think so, Drew. I think we are talking about one of the more well-stocked positions in this draft. I think this is a corner-heavy draft. And I think it would be incumbent upon the Lions, a team that has historically the last few years, and it's just the way our defensive backs get beat to shit, Drew. They do. The Lions' defensive backs get beat up. They just do. And so we need more. And we're going to get one, I do believe, on day 3. And even maybe more in the undrafted pool as far as the sake of competition and getting the best possible players in that room. But, Drew, this is an important position, not to the Detroit Lions, but to the league at large. It's loaded. It is loaded. We're not going to even talk about some players today, Drew, that are going to get drafted and be impacts in the league.
Yeah, and and in my estimation, it's one of the most difficult to project. It's the quarterback of the defensive side of the football. It is very difficult to project. It's deep. They're super talented guys, but the 10th cornerback off the board could end up being the number 1 NFL cornerback out of that draft class when it's all said and done. So it's tough to gauge it. Some guys are man coverage specialists, some guys are zone. We're going to talk about that a lot coming up. But in terms of just the Detroit Lions, before we jump into the top 20, I personally went from saying, okay, going into the draft just after the season ended, okay, they're going to probably need to get a day 3 guy, but it might not be a critical need. Maybe it's a position, because at the time, they had 7 picks. It's like maybe that's not a position they draft. And then we hear about Terrion Arnold's issues off the field. Now all of a sudden it becomes possibly an absolute must need. You got to look at it at 17 now, potentially. That's quieted.
For a
minute there. It's still looming, but it's quieting down like we talked about off the air. So not day 1, certainly. There's bigger needs, unfortunately. And likely not day 2 either, because they don't have a 3rd round pick. So they've only got 17 and 50 before they fall back to day 3. So I totally agree with you. But now I think it's really a position they have to look at on day 3 very, very significantly, because there's guys in the room now. And Reed, I trust at the 1 corner, but he missed 4 or 5 games last year because of a hamstring injury. And we've talked about hamstring injuries in the past at receiver. It's not a good thing at corner either. So that's where there's concerns. And then, who knows? Tomorrow we might hear Terrion Arnold's exonerated, all is right with the world, or we might hear there's another problem. Really disappointed and shocked to even hear about him being mentioned in it because he just doesn't strike yet as somebody going to have trouble off the field. It's a good kid, but things happen. But let's talk about our top 20 coach. And I'm going to pull it up right now. And there is a deep group, as you said. Let's talk about him.
And we start off with a dark horse. We start off right with a dark horse at number 20. One of yours, Drew. They're Hezekiah Masses out of California, and at 20, one of our dark horses. At 19, Charles Demings out of Stephen F. Austin in Texas. At 18 is Will Lee III out of Texas A&M. At 17, Julian Neal out of Arkansas. At 16, Takario Davis out of Washington. And at 15, Malik Muhammad out of Texas. 14, Dalen Everett from Georgia. At 13 is Chandler Rivers from Duke. At 12, another one of our dark horses, Davison Igbinosun out of Ohio State University. Drew, that's your other dark horse that you'll be speaking of. And at 11 is Devin Moore from Florida. At 10, Traden Stooks out of Arizona. At 9, Keontae Scott out of the U, Miami Hurricanes. At 8, Keith Abney II out of Arizona State. 7, D'Angelo Pons, another one of those national champion Indiana Hoosiers. And at 6 is Chris Johnson out of San Diego State. Into our top 5, Brandon Cease out of South Carolina, Drew. At 4, Colton Hood out of Tennessee. At 3, Avion Terrell, brother of A.J. Terrell from Clemson. He is our third corner. At 2 is Jermod McCoy out of Tennessee. And in at number 1, Drew, and you can take it away, Mansour Delane out of LSU. He is our top corner. And I think for sure, Drew, this is the top corner in this draft. This is a really, really good football player.
Yeah, he's sticky out there. And Mansour Delane out of LSU, 6 foot, 187-pound senior. He's from Silver Springs, Maryland. He clocked in at 4.38 40 time, outstanding. He's a transfer from Va Tech, Virginia Tech. He was a freshman All-American at Va Tech in 22. He's a 2-time All-ACC player. He had 146 tackles, 7 for loss, 14 pass breakups, and 6 INTs in 33 games for the Hokies. He was All-SEC and an All-American at LSU as well. Last season, 45 tackles, 11 pass breakups, 2 picks, and a 31.3 QBR rating in 11 games for the Tigers. So not a whole lot of positive happens for the offense when Mansour Delane's on the field. For his career, 191 tackles, 7 for loss, 27 pass breakups, 4 fumbles, forced fumbles, 8 picks in 44 games. Coach, this is a very talented guy right here, Mansour Delane.
Yeah, he's your true CB1. He's an on-the-ball player. He's the guy that goes towards the strength. He's the guy you want on the top receiving threat. He's the guy that you want pitting the run in the perimeter. He does all of those things. He was that guy for LSU. He is slated to be that type of corner, an every down cornerback in the NFL. And he makes plays on the ball, Drew. And, where does he get that from? Great athleticism. This is a position it's kind of hard to fake it. We have another episode out at wide receiver where you can sometimes not be the fastest, most explosive guy and still be really effective. That is very difficult to do as a defensive back because you're a reactionary position. That explosive, movement and fast off the first, move, is very, very important. We got a lot of that. Mansour Delane. He's a great run supporter, which I know that's music to my ears as a defensive guy and a defensive coach in football. And it would be to any defensive coordinator, but to most head coaches as well. It speaks to a well-rounded cornerback, real patient route reader. You're going to hear me kind of talking about route reading and, the route tree. These guys want to set up their routes with all these dynamic movements. You almost have to look at wide receivers like waves, and you're a surfer. You kind of got to ride these things, and you got to have patience to do that, and balance, and you can't be guessing. You've got to kind of feel them through their process, be able to stay in that hip pocket. Mansour Delane does that really well, Drew. He does that really well. He maintains that, all the way through, in man coverage as well. He's very, very patient guy. So, with a good experience, in both zone and man schemes, he's a scheme versatile player. So he can fit into zone and man schemes very, very well. Very, very good functional athlete there. When you look at this right there with that's like, I mean, you would put that photo like on a cover of a book if it was in regards to like defensive back tackling technique. I mean, that is just, like everything, like his knee to shin angle is like perfect in the ground. It's ridiculous how textbook of a player Mansour Delane has been for, at college for LSU and for Virginia Tech. No flags or touchdowns, no flags or touchdowns allowed while he was at LSU. Wow. Never had one. So he was the perfect player there. Now, is he a perfect player? No, not necessarily. But his ball skills are very present. 27 PBUs, 8 picks, 4 forced fumbles. He's a playmaker, Drew. He's there exactly where you need him to be and when you need him to be there. He's a tackler. He's all things that you need on the football field at all times. Mansour Delane.
Yeah, I wish he could be a Detroit Lion. Like I said, they just have bigger needs at 17, and quite frankly, don't see Mansour Delane falling to 17. Certainly not in this draft. And Coach, like you said, though, he's damn good. He's not perfect. No one is. So what does he need to work on?
Well, he's smaller in frame. He's 6 foot, 187 pounds. And you had kind of alluded to, in the wide receiver episode, defensive backs and corners getting bigger and taller a little bit. And that can be a bit of a problem for smaller outside wide receivers. Well, Mansour Delane is not that. He is not one of these 6'2" and taller corners or 200-plus pound corners. He's pretty stereotypical or prototypical in size at 6 foot, 185 or thereabouts. Needs refinement in his press coverage. That's gonna, you're gonna be dealing with some bigger, more physical guys and some people that have been nuanced and skilled, experienced in having to beat NFL press coverage. They're gonna pack quite a punch for Mansour. He's gonna have to adjust to that. Longer, taller receivers going to give him a little trouble at first. I wouldn't be surprised, if that kind of a wide receiver, bends on him a little bit. He's yet another player. We've talked about it at linebacker. We've talked about it on defensive line, at edge, at offensive line. Every player can be guilty of this, of being over-aggressive. Their over-aggressive play style can get the best of them a little bit. He did not have any penalties at LSU, but getting over aggressive into your press and getting handsy in your man coverage is going to get you flagged. It's just going to. So those are things that, Mansour Delane is going to want to work through and see that they don't become an issue for him. Added strength, but, we're going to talk about that. And that just kind of goes without saying. You got to get your grown man strength, right, Drew?
Yeah, absolutely.
And to be physically competitive as possible in the NFL, because he's a very physically competitive player. Size and physical limitations are the greatest concern here, Drew. I'm a big fan. I think you said it best. If we have great health out of Taylor Decker, if Frank Ragnow does not sustain the injuries and he is good to go, and number 77's snapping the football for the Detroit Lions, had the Lions been able to be relatively, responsive in finding somebody to rush the passer opposite Aiden Hutchinson with regularity, we could be looking at Mansour Delane at the 17th pick and be licking our chops, because I think he would be way better than any of the young defensive backs that we have on our team right now. And I don't want to say too much about Ennis Rakestraw because we have not seen him play, but and I'm not trying to call out Terrion Arnold, but I don't think Terrion Arnold has been exactly as advertised when we spoke so highly of him when we previewed him before the Detroit draft. And I see Mansour Delane would be a great, great fit to replace a Terrion Arnold. That's not going to happen. Doesn't need it to happen either. But, as luck would have it, it's just not the right time for Mansour Delane to be a Detroit Lion. But, yeah, Drew, I don't think, for me, there is any any doubt that this is the top receiver, or not top receiver, top corner in this draft.
Yeah, and he's going to go anywhere between likely 5 and 15, probably closer to 10. You know, just being honest, talent wise, top corners are hard to find. He does everything really well, and even though, yeah, of course, there's things he needs to work on. He's got frame limitations, but
Oh yeah,
nothing really prevents him from being a very good cornerback, and it certainly, I'm pretty confident it's going to translate to the NFL. So looking forward to seeing him do his thing and hone his craft in the NFL. Who do we got number 2, Coach?
we've got Jermod McCoy out of Tennessee, 6'1", 188-pound junior. He's our number 2 corner. 3-star recruit out of White House, Texas, with a track guy. That's a great, White House has got one of the greatest track programs in the country, Drew. 4'4", 40, 38-inch vertical, 10-foot 7-inch broad jump. So elite athlete. He was the Texas State long jump and triple jump champion. In high school when he was there. So I mean, this is an athletic young man. Transfer from Oregon State, was a Beaver. I believe may have went out there with Jonathan Smith initially. 31 tackles, 7 pass breakups, and 2 picks in 12 games as a true freshman for the Beavers when he was in Corvallis. Then transferred to Tennessee. We have covered a lot of guys that seems like they have transferred into Tennessee, Drew, where he was a 2024 All SEC selection and All American. Had 44 tackles, 9 PBUs, and 4 picks in 2024 for the Vols. Did not play this year. He did not play this year at all. He missed the season with ACL reconstruction surgery. So in at number 2, Drew, is Jermod McCoy, cornerback out of the University of Tennessee.
Yes, indeed. And consistently seeing him ranked number 2 or number 3 on anybody's cornerback boards. Had seen him early on as the number 1 corner on the boards initially. But that injury is the issue. And certainly when you talk Detroit Lions, if they were in that position we're referring to, if the offensive line had a little more luck with injuries there, he would be in play there, and it scares me because the knee injury does scare me. But we're going to talk about what we like about Jermod McCoy, and there's a lot to like here. And first and foremost, it's his ball skills. He's a ball tracker of wide receiver. He's a ball hawk. He's an elite athlete, like Coach said. He's explosive. He has speed to keep up and recover. So he's able to take more chances where in his position, is able to recover quickly. So he's explosive. He's got the speed to keep up and recover, like I said, and he's got the excellent press man coverage skills, which are really essential in the NFL. He's got great feel for zone coverage too, so he's got that IQ, football IQ. He's nuanced and diverse in scheme and alignment. He can play any alignment and line up anywhere on the field, cover any type of receiver. He's patient and comfortable riding routes in man. He's a pit bull in contested areas for 50-50 balls. He is a ball hawk. He wants that football. He's a tremendous mirror in man coverage and really an assassin in zone coverage. You see it on tape a lot where he's able to lay back and he's able to read where the route's coming in underneath, and he's able to just bullet into there. Coach, there's so much to like about Jermod McCoy, but I mean, I just can't help but get fixated on, is the knee going to hold up?
Well, I mean, you spoke up very, very well here with the strengths, Drew. I mean, you do watch the film. I mean, I knew through the process that Jermod McCoy didn't play this past year, and one of the prospects that we are going to speak of here very, very soon is a reason why he even is at Tennessee is because of Jermod McCoy. And I knew of the knee injury, and it certainly is going to stunt your draft slot. Okay. Will it be that it costs Jermod McCoy being the first cornerback taken? Watch the film. and watch 2024 especially, he's different than Mansour Delane in press man coverage and is a man cover receiver or man cover corner. He covers like he's a receiver. I mean, he's good. He's really, really good. Now I feel so bad for him because the knee went wrong, and that's got to be he's got to recover from it. These things, it's tried and true. He should be just fine, but he is a difference maker of a cover corner, Drew. He is a difference maker.
Yeah, and just touching on again in detail here, they tore the ACL in the 2025 playoff game against Ohio State for the 2024 season. So again, he missed last season, but like Coach said, the tape doesn't lie. The man can play football. He's a very, very good cornerback. He's not the most physical run supporter. He's 6'1", 188, so average weight, slight above average in height, but that's not his forte per se. He's not near the tackler as some of the other prospects we're going to talk about, or even as much as Delane. His last film versus Ohio State, it was not good. However, again, take the whole body of work and outstanding football player. But yeah, he struggled in that game. He gets a little clutchy at times, and when challenged downfield. So, and that kind of reminds me of Terry and Arnold in that respect, because what's frustrating about Arnold for me, Coach, as a fan, is I see the skill. He's not beat. And yet he's not trusting his own abilities, so he immediately is instinctively wanting to clutch and grab. He's got the ability to keep up and catch up, so he's got to be able to discipline himself, get coached up in that regard. He's going to be rusty from the football aspect. To not play an entire season recovering from a significant injury, an injury that is recoverable now. I mean, this is a injury he can fully recover from. There's no doubt about it. It's just a matter of where he's at on track. It sounds like he's on track to start with an off-season activities for whoever he's drafted by. So that's a good thing for Jermod McCoy. That'll help his draft stock. Again, where will he measure physically in regards to NFL physicality? Can he hold up? Will the knee hold up? But talent-wise and skill set-wise, Coach, this is another one of those polarizing guys. He could be a top 10 pick. I believe he's still a day one pick, but he could even slip below the lines at 17 and go into the 20s. Don't see him really leave. I don't see him going below 25 in my view.
He's a cover corner. That's what he is. He does not defend the run very well. For me, Jermod McCoy's a no. He's a no. If he, it's not necessarily because of the knee. I want more. I'd rather have a Mansour Delane. He's a better cover corner than Mansour Delane. He's better at it. There's no doubt about it. But it's probably unfair because it's also the game he got hurt in. But Jeremiah Smith kind of embarrassed him, Drew. I mean, it was. I saw Jeremiah Smith play in person that season against the Spartans. In like his fourth ever game, he was 18.
Mm-hmm.
This was an 18-year-old kid just throwing him around, and he couldn't stay on him. It was, and he's only a year older than Jeremiah Smith, and Jeremiah Smith this is the top receiver of next year's draft, Ohio State Buckeyes. It was rough. And now, yes, I think Jeremiah Smith he has the ceiling to be the best wide receiver in the NFL at some point in time, probably within the first 3 years of his career. So, I mean, yeah, that is the player we're talking about. He's going against the best. But isn't it the best league, Drew? I think he's going to be going against the best every week. So, I mean,
yeah.
Just where does he match up with physicality? Because that, for me, that Jeremiah Smith film, and for that to be the last one that he's been able to show, I've got question marks. I've got apprehension. So if we were in a perfect world and we could draft a defensive back at 17, and because in a perfect world, Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch would be healthy as horses, we wouldn't be drafting a safety. So would I draft Jermad McCoy then? For me, still, I think I'm looking somewhere else. But do I think he is the best cover corner in the draft? Probably he is.
Yeah, I think that's a very fair assessment, Coach. But I agree. Just from past experiences, certainly in Detroit, yeah, this is not someone I want to look at 17. Even if, like you said, all things being equal, in a perfect scenario, they could afford to take a corner. They're safer, very effective picks. Delane being one who won't be there, but there might be guys we're going to talk about here. As a matter of fact, the next prospect I'm going to introduce now could be one of those players, and that is Avion Terrell out of Clemson, the 5'11", 186-pound junior. He's a four-star prospect out of Atlanta, GA. He's the younger brother of Atlanta Falcons cornerback A.J. Terrell. He ran a 4.39 40. He started 31 of 39 games he played for Clemson. Last year he was an All-American, and twice he's been All-ACC. Last season he had 5 forced fumbles. So the man can hit, and he's able to strip football. He's got a nose for the football. For his career, 125 tackles, 9 for losses, 4 sacks, 3 interceptions, 25 pass breakups, 9 forced fumbles, and 3 fumble recoveries, all in 39 games. Coach, Mr. Terrell gets around on the football field.
Yeah, I mean, in one Terrell, goes via the draft into the NFL and gets to go to his hometown team, a la, Aiden Hutchinson. AJ Terrell gets to go back to Atlanta. Here comes young Avion Terrell. 8 forced fumbles that's a crazy number. I mean, that is a lot. That is making plays on the ball, brother. Avion Terrell is definitely been he filled his brother's his footsteps really, really well in Clemson, South Carolina, and became CB1 rather quickly. Let's get into what he does, Drew, because we talked about potentially Jermad McCoy being the best press man and best press man cover corner in the draft. Avion Terrell might be the best zone cover corner in the draft. He is a ball hawk. And we have it up there as a ball hunter, but really, that old term ball hawk is, that's, in old football terms, that's the free safety playing center field and kind of tracking things in front of them. Well, you can cover 3 football. Corners do that too. And he's really good at it. Elite playmaker on the ball. Whether it's breaking up passes or forcing fumbles or picking the ball off, he is a playmaker on the ball. Offers true scheme versatility. He can play man coverage. This is a legit guy. In and out of scheme philosophy. So, I mean, if you're a cover 0, cover 1 guy or a man-free guy, he can play for you. If you're a cover 2, cover 3, cover 4, cover 6, zone guy as a defensive coordinator, Avion Terrell's your man. True scheme versatility, legit closing speed. He can burn it up, Coach. He can really close and recover. And you need to have those skills in zone because, zone is a lot about timing, Drew. You kind of have to make it look like you're either kind of lost or you're going somewhere else for route to create a route response. So then it's kind of like you're fishing.
You're baiting. Yeah, you're baiting.
Trying to bait them into doing something and knowing that's what they're going to do and then being able to jump that. Avion Terrell is outstanding with that. But he rides routes really well, too. He's got the patience for man coverage. He can really kind of sit into somebody's, routes and stay right on top of them. He's a football blue blood. His brother's A.J. Terrell. His brother was also a great Clemson defensive back and was a high pick for the Atlanta Falcons. A very competitive physical DB, that can make plays on the ball and cause turnovers. What's not to like, Drew? What's not to like?
And I'll be honest, I early on saw a lot of mock drafts with Avion Terrell going to the Detroit Lions at number 17. I still see some mock drafts like that. But again, you got to. I would encourage people and even the writers actually to take a look at what truly the Detroit Lions need on their roster. Who do they truly need? Avion Terrell may be, in some folks' view, the best player available at 17. And that could be true, Coach. I would love to have him in Detroit, to be honest with you. There's just going to be other players like a tackle or a safety or an edge rusher or even a defensive, interior defensive lineman that may be there, will be there, and it's just a position of need. You need a starter at that role. The Lions just don't have the luxury, and there won't be an Avion Terrell at number 50. I'll tell you that right now. So what's not to like? Not a lot. There's not much to not like about Avion Terrell, but there are things that he has to work on, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, one of which he can't work on too much is his small frame. He's 5'11", 186, and there's not a ton that you're going to do about that. He may firm up and get a little thicker and get up into towards the 195, 200 range, but there's not a lot that he can do about that. It's just the way it is. So bigger physical receivers are going to be a problem. They're going to, probably, you're going to see some things. He could struggle in those areas a little bit, especially if you put him in a lot of press man situations. That could be an issue for him. Too quick to grab and man. He can get clutchy. He's definitely more comfortable in zone. He can get a little clutchy, especially in the contested areas, and that's just going to get flagged. That we see it every single week in the NFL. It happens all the time. He misses and loses some tackles at a greater clip than like Mansour Delane does. So as far as I'm concerned, is Avion Terrell ahead of Jermod McCoy? For me, he is. He's a lot more finished product than that. For me, would I choose Avion Terrell over Mansour Delane? No, and it's because he misses tackles. Some of that is he's a DB tackling in space, and it's the most difficult thing to do. So those guys have a little bit higher missed tackle rate or a little lower tackle rate, depending on which piece of data you're looking at, than maybe a linebacker or a defensive lineman does, or an edge player does. That being said, that needs to get worked on. That's got to get worked on. He's got to become a better tackler. He can be a little too patient in zone too, and sometimes the real good zone ball hawk guys can hunt too much. They can hunt so much that they just miss the prize. And he's got some clips of that. He's going to have to make sure that he adjusts his timer, his zone timer, because it's going to be a little faster. It's going to trigger a little differently in the NFL. He's got to adjust to those things. Is it going to take a little time? It sure will. But what are his biggest issues? And it's his size. His size limitations, and where do GMs and scouting departments and coaching staffs see that with them? Are they ultimately concerned? Do they feel like Avion Terrell still brings so much to the table that within their scheme and their framework of their defense, he'll be just fine? I am guessing there are going to be many takers on that. I think Avion Terrell's a fine football player. He's just tinier, Drew.
Yeah, and I believe he'll fall between 15 and 25 on the board. Probably likely on the board at 17 again, but I believe the Lions will have to pass on the position group in general. But really, really like him. But I would agree. He's
he's making it to 50.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, no, definitely not. I firmly believe we talked about the three guys that are going to be day one in my mind for sure. I'd be very, very surprised if either McCoy or Terrell were to slip out. Delane won't. He's going to be there. But who do we like at number 4, Coach?
Well, we have the guy that replaced Jermod McCoy this past season at the University of Tennessee, and that's Colton Hood, 6'4", 193-pound redshirt sophomore. So this is a young guy that has not played a ton of football. He's really played 2 years worth of games in college football. McDonough, Georgia native, so he's right outside of Atlanta there. He earned all-state honors in football, baseball, and track in high school. So this is a really, really good athlete. 40.5-inch vertical. He can get off the ground. He's got some pop in those legs. He's a double transfer from Auburn to Colorado and then eventually to the University of Tennessee. Only played in 4 games at Auburn. Uncle's Broderick Hood, who's a longtime defensive back, I believe, for the Carolina Panthers. He followed in his footsteps. He went to the same high school as he did too, a smaller Christian school outside, suburban Atlanta there, excuse me, and thrived just like he did there. And, kind of was following in his footsteps. Didn't get on the field and didn't do too much for the Tigers. Transferred to Coach Prime. Did transfer to Colorado where things were a little bit better for him. He only played the 1 year there. That was actually the first year he would really get on the field. He played behind Travis Hunter. So he was a backup in theory, but those guys rotate a lot, especially when Travis Hunter is playing offense full time as well. And there was a game that he started. And he started versus Arizona. And this is kind of, oh shit, what are we going to do? Well, we're going to go with Hood.
Yep.
And he stonewalled the NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year to 5 catches, 38 yards in a one-on-one matchup in his first ever start in college football.
Impressive.
So Colton Hood theoretically arrived, Drew, last year for the Colorado Buffaloes in a big way. Jermod McCoy gets hurt in the college football playoff. He is going to be out for the season and will not be able to play on the field for the Tennessee Volunteers, opening on the roster there. In this modern day and age, you can kind of strike on that iron. So Colton Hood took his services to Knoxville, Tennessee for his redshirt sophomore year, where he would be all SEC and would continue on this trajectory to being an NFL draft choice. He's got 2 career defensive touchdowns, Drew. So another guy that's made some plays in his very brief college career. But here's Colton Hood.
Yeah, and we'll talk about what we like and what we have concerns about. But overall, this is a day one talent. But we're going to talk about what do we think? Is he actually going to go day one? Well, let's take a look at it. What does he do well? He's excellent in press man coverage. And again, so important. Like you've talked about, Coach, zone is very instinctive and a lot about baiting the receiver to do kind of what you want them to do so you can anticipate. But to be sticky in press man coverage, that's so important for a corner, and Colton Hood is that. He mirrors and rides routes and man coverage as good as any prospect in the draft. So that's saying something right there. So basically what we're saying is he's as sticky as anybody in this draft and man. So he's definitely a day one candidate just for that alone. He's a scheme versatile prospect. He can play zone. He's a playmaker. Like Coach said, 2 defensive touchdowns in only 29 games. So and he wasn't starting in a lot of those games either, like Coach articulated earlier. So again, he makes plays when he's on the field. He offers extremely competitive game speed to keep up and recover. So again, you can look at the combine, you can look at the pro days, but when you watch the film, Colton Hood's speed is evident. He's a battler in 50-50 ball or contested area situations. He's a gamer out there, and he communicates well. For a developmental player, he's got a great football IQ. So Colton Hood checks many, many boxes, Coach, to say that I should be picked possibly between pick 20 and then 32.
Yeah, I mean, he was tasked with replacing the best press man cover in college football. And that was Jermod McCoy. I mean, that's what he essentially did. This was the replacement to Jermod McCoy via the transfer portal. And Colton Hood exhibits many of those same traits. Kind of a stocky, thick, 6 foot, 193-pound, twitchy, explosive athlete that can get up into your grill and stay right up on top of your feet and not yield. So I mean, he has got all of those same traits of being a real electric press man cover, which is what guys like to do, Drew. That's what a lot of defensive coordinators like. So he possesses a skill trait, Drew, that is really, kind of the gold bullion of defensive back play in the NFL, and that's being a top-notch press man cover.
Yeah, exactly, Coach. So, what are we looking at here in terms of some red flags? Well, 3 schools in 3 years of college football. So this hits home for me, Coach, because I have a resume too in my field, and it's there's a lot of destinations on it, and it's a natural question. Why? Are do you lose patience? Do you not think you get coached up? What is when the going gets tough, you get going. Which is it? There's always a story to everything, and I think you told Colton Hoods pretty well from a 30,000-foot view of it. Opportunities present themselves, and he made it happen, and he kept getting better. So. It's a question, it's a concern, but I think Colton Hood can answer that question. So, but he's going to be asked that question. There's no doubt about it. So, is he mature enough? Is his rationale, is his reasoning, is he listening to the right people? That's always a concern coming out of the draft. So that's something you're going to look out for with Colton Hood. Only 13 career starts in 29 games in his college career. So, again, we like what we see, but we haven't seen a lot. So there's a lot of tread on the tires, but is there any limitations to why he only had 13 career starts? That's something you got to look at on tape. Really, a lot of it's opportunity and getting more mature and physically stronger and better. Over aggression and press technique, that's going to lead to a lot of penalties. He's very good at it, but again, he's got to be careful with the over aggression. Getting over amped up, the yellow hankies are going to come out real quick, so he's got to be careful of that. And he doesn't appear to feel or track as consistently in zone coverage yet. But he seems to have a good football IQ. So the question I think I have isn't that can he get there, but it's like, when will he get there? Will it be right off the hop out of camp, or is it going to be a year or two? It's probably going to be a year or two before he gets more comfortable in that. Although if you're taking Colton Hood, you're probably looking for a press man guy, and that's him. But he needs to be a better tackler and run supporter in the NFL. That's got to improve. And will he lack in it as a career as a press man specialist, or will he lock in as a press man specialist? I should say, excuse me. It may happen based on circumstances, Coach, because if he gets drafted by if the Detroit Lions had Colton Hood, he's going to be playing a lot of press man for 4 or 5 years right off the hop. So it may be a skill that he doesn't get a chance to develop in terms of zone. But overall, where do you see him going?
Well, that's you kind of summed it up. I mean, that's exactly what's very likely to happen to Colton Hood, and it really could be a victim of circumstance. It's going to make him a press man specialist, because that's really what he is. He came to the University of Tennessee because he's a press man specialist. So he's kind of started this off for himself. I mean, in this new day and age, of basically the player ruling the roost and being a 1-year contract year free agent every single year in college sports until that changes. The Colton Hood has kind of proven that he's a kind of a gun for hire through his one great talent that he brings. Just how much has he really worked to develop some of these things? And I'm not saying he's not god awful as a zone cover or anything like that. Like, it's like, oh my God, get him off the field. It's not like that.
No.
It's just, he is not as well-rounded probably as some of the others, but he isn't needed to be well-rounded. So in saying this is a weakness, you could almost double back and say, is it really a weakness? Because if he comes to Detroit, he is never going to be asked to play any zone coverage. They'll ask him to be a press man corner, and that's all he's going to need to be. So I think that's probably the route for Colton Hood, is he's going to go somewhere where they play exclusively press man coverage, or that's what they're going to ask of him, and that's what he is going to be. He's got a nice ceiling. He could do this for quite a while. He could do this. His brother or his uncle did it for about 10 years. I think he could do it for about the same.
I think Colton Hood has like I said, the talent to get into that 20 to 32 range. I think he likely goes early day 2, like within the first 5 to 10 picks in round 2. But circumstances will dictate that in terms of a team's need. A team in between 20 and 32 may not have another pick for a while. They may strike while the iron's hot and go after a Colton Hood because they have a need at corner. But I think his talent projects day one. His likely draft slotting is early day two. But our number 5 prospect on the board is Brandon Cease out of the University of South Carolina. He's a 6 foot, 189-pound junior coach from Sumter, South Carolina, so he stayed close to home. Ran a very, very good 4.40, has a 41-inch vertical leap and a 10.11 broad jump. He transferred from NC State, North Carolina State. He started 9 of 22 games for the Wolfpack, and he had 38 tackles and 5 pass breakups, along with an interception for the Wolfpack in his career. 27 tackles and 5 pass breakups and 1 interception in 12 starts for the Gamecocks. So Brandon Cease, although he stayed closer to home, he did transfer, but he's been productive wherever he's gone, Coach.
Yeah, his body of work's a little trickier. His evaluation tool, you've really got to watch him play and watch how he plays, because his statistical numbers don't jump off the board. It's not like he's made a ton of plays on the ball. He's got about 10 career pass breakups in his career. He's played a decent amount of football. He's 6 foot, 189 pounds, solid frame. Nothing really pops off for you. Good athlete. He's a very good athlete. And I think that's where we're going to see kind of the tail of the tape for Brandon Cease, and why he's on this side of the board and not a dark horse or somebody placed in the top 20 or somebody who very easily could not even been on our draft board at all, because it's finite, Drew. It's finite. Mm-hmm. He's got the speed to track and recover in all schemes, and that's very, very helpful. Basically, he's kind of your universal soldier. He possesses very good outside cornerback technique and skills and traits. Everything's got. He's longer armed. He's longer limbed. He's 6 foot, so he's very, so he's not a giant, but he is also, very diverse in his fit footwork and really dynamic in regards to his footwork and his ability to adjust and ride routes. Because, again, he's another one of these guys that can really play man coverage very, very well. Willing and deliberate press technique, applicator. He's a physical football player, a very comfortable man guy. He's a man expert, and that's kind of the coin of the realm in the NFL. I mean, you do see zone. The lower the level football through college and in the high school, you see more and more zone, because it does require athletes to play man coverage. This is an athlete. This is truly an athlete. He leverages the perimeter really well in the run. He is a prototypical outside corner. So we've talked about some real good ones. Mansour Delane. We've talked about the coverage ability of Jermod McCoy. We've talked about the playmaking and on the ball ability of Avion Terrell. And we talked about the press coverage ability of Colton Hood. Dave, what Brandon Cease brings to the table is elite technique and capability as an outside corner. So would Brandon Cease be somebody the Detroit Lions would have looked at or would look at in this draft? Again, I think they would have had the stars aligned a little bit differently. Because if you really want to challenge it, Terrion Arnold, you draft a guy like Brandon Cease, because what Brandon Cease is he's exactly where he needs to be at all times.
Yep. Very disciplined, very, very technical player, and has the burst, like you said. I agree with you, Coach. If things being different at 17, absolutely Brandon Cease would be in play. He may be, I don't think he will, but it's possible he could be around at 50. I don't think that's going to happen, though. But let's talk about what he needs to work on.
Well, he's off the list of a lot of teams. There's some teams that are not even looking at Brandon Cease because he's not much of a zone cover at all. I mean, he is not somebody that's shown. He kind of disappears. He kind of goes out in zone. It's just he lacks the scheme versatility. He's a man cover player, which for a good many of teams is not a big deal at all, because they want That's what they want. So, is it a weakness? Well, it is for some. We got some red ink up here, Drew. We got a guy that missed 4 games with an arm injury in 2024. I think he broke his wrist, and then he injured his knee at times in 2025, and you just see these clips and some of the extended stuff. You and I, this is not our day job, so we can't just sit there and watch full game footage. But I just was lucky enough to kind of see like a full game synopsis of Brandon Cease, and they would show him at times, in some of the weakness categories of him coming off the field with this hobbled knee injury that took place during the 2025 season. He'd come in, in and out of games at times. So what is that? What's up with that? We've just been dinged by this so often with the Lions that we just don't need to play that game. So I'm thinking of it from that perspective.
Yeah.
He's got to refine, and become a better tackler, like a lot of our defensive back prospects that we've spoken of. He has to be better there. We're going to talk about a teammate here that is a little bit better at it than he does. But he clutch and grabs, a little bit in coverage struggles. So as it gets more competitive, as the battle gets longer, the more likelihood that hand's going to reach out and grab, and that's when the yellow flags, like my shirt, get thrown. He can pull the trigger on routes a little too quickly at times and guess, and that's when boom, that can cause some separation, and you can bust a route and what they call broken coverage. That Brandon Cease has got a few of those. He's just got to be found in the right system, and the right system is going to find him. Drew, if you and I, who are jack of all trades sports fan guys that really like the NFL draft, can kind of find these things. I am certain that 32 scouting agencies know what Brandon Cease is. He's going to find himself in the right spot. He's a top end man cover guy, Drew, not a scheme versatile player.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what probably keeps him on day 2. But at the same time, like you said, the right system's going to find him. Super talented player. Yeah, I mean, every NFL team that has a man defensive system would love to have Brandon Cease on your team, and it's that simple. So to me, that absolutely makes him a real rock solid second round pick. He does have the talent. If the right situation's there, maybe a team trades up late in the first to go grab their other player, gets their other starting corner in Brandon Cease. I don't know. It could happen. He's got a wider range, I think, in terms of where he falls, but lots to like there. So definitely an outstanding top 5, and certainly in our view. And there's other players that could qualify as well. And we're going to talk about a few. And I know I'm starting out with my dark horses. I got Davison Igbinosun out of the Ohio State University, 6'2", 195-pound senior coach. And I'll preface my dark horses with this. I picked my 2 based on who do I think the Lions could go after on day 3. Maybe 5th, 6th roundish area. I could be underestimating their value, but that's how I pick our cornerback dark horses from my perspective. But this is a 4-star prospect out of Union, New Jersey. He's an Ole Miss transfer. He started 56 out of 56 games played in college. So the man gets on the field right away and stuck and stayed. He was a 2022 freshman All-American with Ole Miss. He started 10 of 13 games as a true freshman. He was part of the 2024 national champion Buckeyes team. He's a 3-time All-Big Ten cornerback. He had last season, a 43.4 passer rating against him. So an outstanding cornerback. Hit for his career, 194 tackles, 4 for loss, 27 pass breakups, 4 INTs, and 3 fumble recoveries in his career. He's got unparalleled experience. 56 games and started in 53 of them. The man got on the field early and often. He's got a tall, strong frame. He attacks the perimeter in the flat area with productive fury. He's disciplined, but he hits hard. He carries and runs deep routes very well, and he fights hands in contested areas. So he's a physical, bigger cornerback. Like we said, a lot of the corners are now like around 6'2" now. That's what you're looking for. That's where Igbinosun checks the box. What does he need to work on? He's linear and less dynamic athletically than some of the other prospects. So a little stiffer in the hips, etc. He's got the speed, but maybe not as twitchy as some of the others we've talked about. He's much better in zone coverage at this point. So again, that's likely why he's going to slip to day 3 more than likely because his man skills. Well, he just hasn't played as much of it, and he's much better in zone. You're going to see that too. He needs to improve as a tackler as well, and he's a major work in progress at man. So he just hasn't been playing it much, and quite frankly, there's a lot of unknown there, Coach. But Davis and Igbinosun, if the Lions are looking corner as a, and maybe it's because an Ennis Rakestraw won't be ready for some reason. I don't know. We, like you said, we haven't really seen him play, and it's because of injuries. That's why I kind of like him maybe in the 5th round. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, like there's a lot. I mean, Davis and Igbinosun fits the modern profile, just like you said, of the type of size and body frame that you want a modern corner to be. Very, very mirror-ish of a receiver, 6'2", 200-ish.
Yeah.
And he is exactly that. 53 starts in 56 games at Ole Miss and Ohio State. A winning SEC program and one of the top programs in the country. He's a good football player. He's played a lot of football and not gotten hurt. So, I mean, a very, very durable player. It's just, this is a man coverage league. It's what most defensive coordinators are asking of their defensive backs. He can do it. He is just better at zone. So he needs, just like what we talked about, with some of the great, man coverage players like Brandon Cease and some of those, he needs to go into an organization, and he likely will, that's going to allow him to feed through his strengths, which is be someone that they can depend on to be a little bit more of a zone cover guy and develop him throughout his rookie contract into becoming a much better man cover guy. Now, the one drawback is he's shown this through 56 games played in his college career, and there's not been a lot of arc of improvement in his man coverage skills. So is he a little bit tapped to a certain area? Well, that would be his floor. And if that's his floor, you've got a great athlete that is a very good corner and a very, very good zone corner. So place in the league for Davis and Igbinosun, Drew.
I'll be honest with you. The reason I would like him potentially as a Lions because I almost foresee a switch to safety. Being better in zone, being physical and bigger. That's kind of where I'm going with it. But
great point.
We'll see. But I like his physicality a lot. Our other dark horse it's our number 20 guy on the list, Coach. Is Hezekiah Massis out of Cal. 6'1", 185-pound senior. He's from Deerfield Beach, Florida. He transferred from Florida International, FIU. He started 43 of 49 games that he played between FIU and Cal. He was a 2022 freshman All-American at FIU. He was a 2-time All-Conference USA player with the Panthers. And last season, he was All-ACC and All-American at Cal. So a fine football player, fine college career. Last season, 47 tackles, 13 pass breakups, 5 picks in 13 games with the Golden Bears. For his career, 152 tackles, 5.5 for loss, 25 pass breakups and 7 INTs, also 2 fumble recoveries and a defensive touchdown. So likes to get his nose in knows where the football is, Coach, and he's very, very instinctive. He's a big winner in the contested areas as a strength for him. He tracks and keeps up very well in man coverage despite average speed. Phenomenal feeling skills in zone coverage, so a real high football IQ and instinctive player, and he's scheme versatile, so he can play man as well. But he's got to work on his tackling. He's not a strong tackler. He's got to get a little better there. A little light in frame. Being 6'1", he could afford to put on maybe 5 to 10 pounds of muscle and not lose any speed. So you'd like to see that from Hezekiah Massis. Had his share of pass interference in college. So that yellow helmet, there was also some yellow hankies on the floor. So he's got to clean that up. He's got to improve as a run defender. They must. Got to improve as a run defender. Tackling and man coverage improvements are a must for him to be successful. But I like his physicality and I like his instincts, Coach. if the Lions were to take a Hezekiah Massis in round 6, I would kind of dig that because he'd have time to percolate and learn, but has the physical ability to contribute right away on special teams, and certainly in if he's needed and injuries happen as we all know, he could be pressed into play. But I do like him.
Hezekiah Massis, from the film that I saw of him, I looked trying to find as much as I could as a young player for Florida International, and I found some, and just to see kind of where his foundation is. He's a skillsy player. He can play in sub packages next year for somebody, like be a 53-man contributing roster guy, special teams sub package player. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. He has the type of ceiling to be a starter caliber. I don't know what the Pro Bowl is anymore. I mean, I guess it's an acknowledgement if it's anything. But like, yeah, I mean, he could be somebody that could, on a given year, be a Pro Bowl caliber corner. It's the type of skill that he brings to the table. He's a little bit of a jack of all trades, master of none. Again, a little bit better of a zone guy at this point in time. I think he has a little more feel for man than maybe even like an Igmanosin, who could very likely be a safety. And I think you alluded to that really, really well. Hezekiah Massis kind of possesses the same ability with that as well. Mm-hmm. However, there's a little bit something to like, I think, in regards to his body of work. But, where has he gotten his penalties? He's gotten his penalties when he's been a man cover. So it's definitely where he's got to work. But, Hezekiah is going to struggle if he can't tackle. So, I mean, that's if we don't get that better, it could get a little different.
Yeah, and what I do like about Massis, and what I also liked about Igmanosin, is that they have shown steady improvement over the course of their career. So I definitely look for that too. You don't want someone on the downside or had an off year coming into the draft. These guys are getting better as they go. So yeah, a lot to like there. But let's talk about your dark horses, Coach.
Yeah, well, the first one's one of the players I like the most out of any defensive players that we have covered. And if there's a future Lion, I want it to be this guy. I licked my chops, and I so badly wanted this to be one of my dark horses. He's not in our top 20. He should be, but he's not. I mean, it's just kind of the way the data kind of like put out. But I mean, he is somebody that, folks, I'm not trying to be like a salesman here, but keep your eyes on Jalen Kilgore. I'm listing him as a defensive back, not as a corner, because he plays all over the place.
Yeah, I think, and that's why he's out of the top 20, because of that, right?
Yeah, and I think that's something that in the future we can take into our own hands and make sure we talk about guys like Jalen Kilgore, 6'1", 210-pound junior from Eatonton, Georgia. So he's out in kind of rural Georgia a little bit. 4'4", 40 with a 10-10 broad jump. Those are easy to remember. He started 33 of his 36 games that he's played for South Carolina. He's a team captain in his third year. He was a 2023 freshman All-American, two-time All-SEC selection, 76 tackles, 6 PBUs with a pick, and 11 starts as a true freshman for the Gamecocks. And through his career, had 178 tackles, 4.5 for loss, 21 pass breakups, 8 picks, and 2 fumble recoveries in 36 games. So a very, very productive on-the-ball career. Fully alignment, scheme, and position versatile player. Drew, this is a strong safety. He's a free safety. He is a slot corner. He is a nickel corner. He is a dime outside linebacker. He is an outside corner. He is all things defensive back. He can do them all. He is a tremendous tackler. We talked about a lot of guys that, really struggle in the tackle game. Tackling as a defensive back is challenging. You're oftentimes in the open field. You're oftentimes trying to do it right on the ball as it's caught. So it is difficult. It is a very difficult thing to do. But he is an exceptional tackler. Great eye discipline in his reads and coverage in his technique. He doesn't make mistakes. he's a very, very good athlete, but he does not make mistakes. Very physical press cover corner. He gets up in your mug and he messes with you. And at 6'1", 210, he's got a little butt to put behind himself there and make things difficult for receivers. One of the better run defending cornerbacks in the draft. He is. He is good, if not better than any of them, really. He's a little lesser athlete, and it shows against the elite route runners. They can separate on him a little bit. And will there be elite route runners in the NFL? Oh, we know that there are. So they have given Jalen Kilgore some trouble. Otherwise, we'd be talking about the number one, corner in the draft, right? But, he lacks that dynamic athleticism that some other guys have. Jermod McCoy has, that he doesn't have. So the timing and reaction can seem a little late in his man coverage. Is he the best man coverage corner here? Is he better than Brandon Cease? No, he is not. He's not a better man coverage. And I'm sorry, Barry Sanders, the having a fit behind me here because he saw something moving around out there. So, watchdogs got to do their job all the time, folks. So
True.
Barry Sanders is making his presence felt here. But he gets grabby. He gets grabby in his man coverage. Got to get better as a man cover. He's got to get better as a man cover. But he's seeking a role amid legitimate athletic limitations too. So, those are the things that are probably keeping him off the board. I don't know how long. I fear he's going in day 2 even because of just the kind of football player Jalen Kilgore is. I would love to have him with our third pick that we have, which is that first pick in the 4th round. I would, if he is there, boom, take him. I understand that there's more offensive line, more edge to look at, but we need to address the secondary, Drew. I spoke of it to you before we went live on air, and I'm speaking to it earlier from the earlier part of the episode. The Detroit Lions need to address this position. I would love to see Jalen Kilgore get this opportunity here.
And there's 2 reasons. 1, he projects as a safety, and 2, when we post our safety prospects draft class, folks, and you'll catch that on our channel on YouTube. Don't forget to subscribe. That's not the most robust group in the draft this year. There's good ones there, but a Jalen Kilgore is likely translating to safety, and he's got, if you're a Lions fan, he's got some Brian Branch-like qualities, Brian Branch-like size. Not the sledgehammer hitter as Branch, but maybe won't get the yellow hankies as well. So there's a give and take there too. Not far. No, he's a Jalen, and that's the reason he's not higher up on the cornerback boards and he's not higher up on the safety boards for a lot of people because they don't know where he's actually going to translate. But as far as an overall defensive back, I'm right with you, Coach. This would be the one if they took a cornerback or DB on the board that's not a true safety, this would be the one pick I'd be like, okay, I get it. I see what they're doing. It makes sense.
And I know we'll transition to the other one here in 1 second, but there was one player last year that I was just really, really excited about. I would love to have seen him been a Lion. In hindsight, it would have been great if he was, because I think he would have been a little. It was Nick Armanwari. Now of the world champion Seattle Seahawks.
That's who you projected us to take in round 1.
And I loved him. I thought he was just a dynamo. He is not as athletically gifted as Nick Armanwari is. He's not. He's not that kind of athlete, but he is not dissimilar of a player. He kind of was his backup. Then he was so good that they started him at corner. They used him like Nick Armanwari this past year.
Yeah, great.
I really, really like Jalen Kilgore, Drew.
Yeah, he's a nice player. It's going to be fun to see where he ends up. Who's your other dark horse coach?
Well, I went a little deeper into the stratosphere here and kind of using some more conventional wisdom here. And we looked back into our conference here, the Mid-American Conference, and a place that's produced some fine defensive backs, one of which we will speak of very, very in depth when it comes to the safety position here soon in a future episode. And we've got one that's, absolutely kicking butt and taking names. with the Philadelphia Eagles. But we're going to go down to the University of Toledo and talk about cornerback Andre Fuller, 6'1", 200-pound senior. He's from Florida, from Loxahatchee, Florida. So somewhere, I'm guessing, in the more rural parts. We're not talking about Key West here.
It's not
10'9" broad jump, transferred from Arkansas Pine Bluff. So he was a SWAC player initially in his career. Had 29 tackles, 14 PBUs, and 3 picks in his one season with the University of Arkansas Pine Bluffs. Impressive. Transferred to Toledo. Stayed kind of smaller, level. Now he's in the FBS side of things. But it translated well, and he was a 2025 All-MAC selection for the Rockets. 49 tackles, 2.5 tackles for loss, 11 PBUs, and 1 pick in 13 games this past year for his career. 107 tackles, 4.5 tackles for loss, 30 pass breakups, 4 picks, and 52 games. Now, he missed 2024 with sports hernia surgery, which is a big pumping of the brakes. It should be, because we drafted a guy that had a sports hernia issue that could just seemingly never stay healthy, and who's no longer with the Detroit Lions. His name is Josh Paschal. And that is an injury that you want to keep your eyes on. That said, he had a banner year this year. He came back from it, had a banner year. All-around contributor as a DB, including special teams. He's got a prolific history every year he has played, regardless if he's been a starting corner or if he's been a rotational corner. He's played on all 4 core special teams. So this is a guy that brings this element to the table. This is something that you look at out of your defensive backs. You want these guys to be major contributors on your coverage teams. He's got a big, long frame for a corner. He's 6'1", 200 pounds. He's, there's longer, but this is not a tinier corner. The frame is not a concern. He's got that Toledo rocket in him. Just like Mitchell does. He is an aggressive, active run defender. He gets after it. Why am I picking Andre Fuller, Drew, and for the few people that are watching our stuff? He's another one of these guys that's been clocked up over 20 miles an hour on a football field. That's a new statistic that people are looking for. That, regardless of your technique, if you can do it that fast, you're a problem. Mm-hmm. And that's something he's going to bring to the table. That's why he's going to be in the NFL. Another strong press man corner. He's got those skills. He brings to the table what most are looking for. Now, what are an issue here? He's got to become a better tackler. Like so many of these guys, Drew, it's a weakness in his arsenal. He's got to become a better tackler. He is also another one of these better zone defenders, that he is a soft press player or a base man. He gets clutchy and grabby. He's better, he either press man him or back him off. He doesn't do much in between, which he's got to get better at. You just can't do those two things. You've got to have a little more capability there. You can't just be either one or the other. But if you're both, that's even better. His competitive arc is not the greatest. He played at Pine Bluff for the Golden Lions and the Toledo Rockets. So we have not talked about a player that's played in the SEC, that's played in the ACC, that's played in the Big Ten. We're not talking about a guy that's got a lot of experience with that. He's kind of one of these, small school men of mystery, where sometimes, Drew, they're Hall of Famers. And sometimes, Drew, they were some smart guy in the room calling their name out. They weren't meant for the league. Which one is Andre Fuller? I like the fact that he can play special teams all day long, Drew. I like the fact that he can run over 20 miles an hour. And I like the fact that he had a really healthy, strong year, 1 year out from that hernia surgery. Because ultimately, when is his time going to run out on that surgery? Is it going to hold up? He plays a very explosive, physically, there's not a position in football that's not physically demanding, but he's going to put a lot of torque on that thing. Is it going to hold up? If it doesn't, we wouldn't want him. If it does, Andre Fuller, to me, Drew, is somebody that can easily be had probably within those 7th round picks that we have, and is a player that could help us out on our roster.
Yeah, I would not. I wouldn't be surprised if an Andre Fuller wouldn't be taken in like round 7 by the Lions, or even maybe someone would go round 6, because he graded out from Pro Football Focus. He graded out very well last year. I think an 82.4, I believe he graded out.
Just like all these defensive backs out of Toledo. I mean, he's just fitting right along those lines.
Yeah, I mean, the injury concerned me, and I admittedly didn't do as much research on it as you did, so this is good for me as well. To understand what exactly happened with him. But yeah, to take a flyer on Andre Fuller and later in day 3, heck yeah, because like you said, his floor is he's going to give you special team support right away, and he's going to contribute right away in that sense. And that's what if you take a guy in the 7th round, you at least expect that. But Andre Fuller could develop into a starting cornerback, and not every 7th round pick can say that. I think Andre Fuller definitely could too. I agree with you. I like him. I'd like him potentially as a Lion if they have the luxury of being able to do so. But we'll see what happens. Coach, wrap up this cornerback class for 2026 before we close it out.
I think it's loaded. I think it's absolutely loaded. I mean, it's a position. I mean, and there are so many sub packages where you have 2, 3, sometimes 4 corners on the field. Teams are carrying 6 corners active sometimes. Or not sometimes, almost all the time. You're going to have 2 to 3, maybe even 4 more on your practice squad. It's not uncommon to carry 10 corners on your team. So there's going to be a lot of cornerbacks that are taken. Cornerbacks come and go in this league at a very, very high clip. We're going to see that once again. I think we're going to see a lot. All the guys that we talked about are getting drafted. There's no doubt about that. And I think Andre Fuller, my dark horse, might be the one that kind of stretches out the furthest out of all of those. Your dark horses certainly are going earlier rather than later. There's a lot of really good football players in this position group, Drew. I do think there is room for us to work within acquiring a corner. I really, really do. I think it needs to be a hybrid corner. And I think you spoke of one, and Davison Igbinosun. And I spoke of one that might be a little more crafted in having that diversity in Jalen Kilgore. Yeah. I really do think the Lions are after a player like that. Maybe we talk about one from the safety perspective as well.
I want to pose this too for Lions fans. You hear us saying this now. All of a sudden at pick 50, you get the Lions are taking a cornerback, like a Chris Johnson out of San Diego State or a D'Angelo Pons. If that happens, I know a lot of people are going to say, what the hell? But then, in a way, you might be saying it, but it probably tells me if the Lions take a cornerback in either day 2 or early day 3, that tells me there's concerns about Terrion Arnold right off the hop, to me as a fan. If they take one later than that, not so much. But anything before round 4, that's making me real concerned, not only about Arnold, but about Rakestraw's health as well. So, I as much as I like some of these guys, and I think Kilgore makes the most sense because he would ultimately translate to safety. That's where we're going to know for sure where they really stand on Terrion Arnold and to a lesser extent Rakestraw. So,
yeah, I mean we're kind of looking at that, the hybrid, player really, and the safety position could yield them too, but we are looking at kind of like that jack of all trades defensive back. At this point in time, you alluded to it. If they end up going with a pure form corner earlier rather than later, somebody's not sticking around. Something happened. It does kind of feel like that could be Terrion Arnold that would trigger that. Ennis Rakestraw, who doesn't want to hear about fans on social media telling him, ask him if he's okay. Well, Ennis, prove that you don't need to be asked. Prove that you don't need to be asked. I think we've seen this kind of settling a little bit here, within Liondom, and those players that like to interact the most on social media. Sometimes, always, they seem to be guys that like to have their last word always, and some of those guys are former Lions now too, by the way. And but he's an injury away. If it happens again, I think it's injury settlement time, and we need to send Ennis home. Mm-hmm. And I would wish him well, but we this is another big swing and a miss as far as a DB. We're not going to swing and miss on a DB in day 1 or day 2. I don't think so. No. I really don't think so. It does kind of feel like things are going in the right direction in regards to Terry and Arnold's off the field issues. It seems like it's going in the right direction with Ennis Rakestraw's health. Do we need to fortify this? Do we need to fix the roof while the sun is shining here, Drew? I do, because and again, I know we're speaking of corners, but our safety room is not healthy. I know we have done some work towards it. And Vontae Maddox is back too, and that's great news.
It is.
Who is, guess what? A Toledo corner. This is, what we need to make sure we're doing is we're keeping it as healthy as possible. We've had 2 football seasons in a row taken from us because of the health of our defensive backfield. By and large, last year was even, and the O-line was not right either, and other things too, tight ends. We can go on and on, but
yeah,
the best way you do that is by fortifying it. And I really do think we need to be steadfast, and we need to get the right player in here. Could we have talked about that right player? I think we could have. Could we talk about it again when we talk about the safeties here down the road? One of these 2 position groups is going to get a Lion. I really do.
Yeah, I think it's necessary. It's very necessary, considering Branch might not see the field this year. And that was more bad news. Kirby Joseph is a big question mark.
If he really ever sees it again.
Or he could be ready for minicamp. We don't know. We really don't know.
It's a weird injury.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but we hope for the best, certainly. So thanks again, folks, for watching. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, get this content out to you every week. We're going to try to get all of the prospect classes sewn up before the April 24th Thursday start of the NFL draft, which is day 1. The picks are going from 10 minutes to 8 minutes now, so that's a little bit better for those of us that need some shut-eye to go to work the next day. That's a good thing. So it's going to be a lot of fun, but then we'll have our first round mock draft right before that as well. So for Coach Andy Shield, I'm Drew. Take care, everybody. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you soon. This has been the Sports Peninsula Podcast. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel on YouTube. You can also follow us on X as well as Facebook so you don't miss an episode. When you want to hear all about sports in the great state of Michigan, there is only one Sports Peninsula Podcast.